In geopolitics, as in business, there is a persistent and dangerous gap between what institutions say and what they actually do. Governments sign climate pledges while approving new fossil fuel extraction. Corporations publish ESG reports while quietly lobbying against the regulations those reports claim to support. International organizations issue communiques that dissolve on contact with reality. The pattern is so consistent that it has stopped being surprising, which is precisely when it becomes most dangerous. The gap between rhetoric and action is not new. What is new is the speed at which it is being exposed. Satellite imagery contradicts official statements within hours. Supply chain data reveals whether commitments to ethical sourcing are real or performative. Financial flows, not press releases, tell you where a government's actual priorities lie. The information asymmetry that once allowed institutions to say one thing and do another is collapsing, and the consequences for trust are severe. Consider the current global trade environment. Tariff announcements are made with theatrical conviction, then quietly walked back, renegotiated, or selectively enforced. The stated rationale shifts from national security to trade deficit reduction to industrial policy, often within the same news cycle. For businesses operating across borders, the challenge is not understanding what was said, it is determining what will actually be done. The gap between policy rhetoric and implementation reality has become one of the most significant operational risks in international commerce. This is not limited to trade. In the broader geopolitical landscape, the divergence between stated positions and observable behavior has become structural. Nations that publicly champion rules-based international order selectively apply those rules. Institutions created to foster cooperation are increasingly used as instruments of competition. The language of partnership is deployed while the architecture of rivalry is being constructed. For those of us working in reputation, governance, and strategic communications, this presents a fundamental professional challenge. Our discipline has historically been organized around the management of narratives. But when narratives are systematically disconnected from actions, the discipline itself risks becoming complicit in the deception, or, at best, irrelevant. The organizations that talk most eloquently about transparency and stakeholder engagement while structurally insulating themselves from both. The organizations building genuine trust are not the ones issuing the most polished statements, they are the ones whose operational decisions align consistently with their stated values. Whether you are assessing a sovereign government, a multinational corporation, or a potential business partner, words are the opening bid, actions are the settlement. The gap between the two is exactly where risk lives. This is especially relevant for those of us operating in the Gulf, where reputational capital and geopolitical positioning are deeply intertwined. The region's credibility on the world stage is not being built through communiques, it is being built through infrastructure investment, regulatory reform, energy transition commitments backed by capital allocation, and a willingness to engage pragmatically with competing powers. Actions, not rhetoric. In a world that rewards commentary and hot takes, the discipline of filtering for action is deeply unfashionable. It is also the only intellectually honest position available. The common ground we should be seeking is not in agreed upon narratives, those are too easily manufactured. It is in observed reality, verified by what actually happens on the ground. The signal trust in national governments is approaching a historic low globally, while 67% of respondents believe government leaders deliberately mislead people. When institutions are no longer believed, their statements become noise. The only signal left is action. Source: GlobeScan Trust in Crisis Report. Edelman Trust Barometer, 2026. The question: when was the last time you changed your assessment of a government, a company, or a partner based on what they said, rather than what they did? If the answer is recent, ask yourself what that cost you. If it isn't, you're already filtering for action. The question is whether your organization is doing the same. Sources and further reading: WEF Global Risks Report 2026. GlobeScan Trust in Crisis. Confidence erodes across institutions, February 2026. Harvard Law Forum, Corporate Governance, Trust and the Crisis of Insularity, February 2026. Modern Diplomacy, Global Tensions, 2026. War, Economics, and the Human Cost of Power, March 2026. Modern Diplomacy, Neutrality in Crisis, Recalibrating the GCC's Hedging Strategy, March 2026, Tax Foundation, Tariff Tracker, 2026, Trump Tariffs and Trade, War by the Numbers, Marketplace. After tariffs, global trade moves on without US, April 2026. Common Ground is published weekly. If this was shared with you, subscribe on LinkedIn to receive it directly. The views expressed in this newsletter are Jonathan Ashton's own personal perspectives. They do not represent the views of his employer or of any professional body, trade association, or member organization of which he is a part.